Hey, welcome back folks to MayhemBike, off-road and outdoor adventures and Mayhem Auto Works. There was questions about the Smith & Wesson spring-assisted Karambit that just came out not that long ago, 1208411. And this is my Malasong I got off Amazon just prior to getting this. Basically, they're identical size-wise. They're both 5 inches overall length, or 5-inch overall closed. Comparisons: 4 ounces, 7 1/4 overall length. The blade is 2 5/8. The grip radius from here to the edge of this pinky ring is 3 7/8. On the Malasong, you see it's 7-inch overall open, 2 1/2-inch blade, D2 steel, 3 3/4 inch from, again, the edge of this to the edge of this inside pinky ring. Other differences: this is a one-piece solid steel shaft that goes around your finger there, tang, whatever you want to call it. On this Smith & Wesson, it's a hollow stamped metal with a, looks like a nylon, probably a D12 or G10 insert, sorry, G10 insert. It's a G10 handle, also. Other differences: this weighs 4 ounces according to Smith & Wesson. This monster here weighs 5.6. This is $27 currently on Amazon. Malasong KNI 204. The Smith & Wesson, depending on which site you go on or find it, it's $29 to $34. Again, this is rated 8CR stainless steel, and this again has a D2 blade. This is a spring assisted, so basically, if you don't decide to use the sway here to get it open on your pants, it's spring assisted. It opens really easily. It is spring assisted, literally. So when you try and close it, basically you'll notice it has a spring attachment. Basically, when you push the lock back liner lock back and you try and close it, all you can do is one hand, pretty entertaining. You'll see when it gets to about here, it's going to start trying to spring out on me. So that's the spring loaded, spring assisted type of operation. The Malasong is not spring assistant, opens just as well, in my opinion, as the Smith without the spring. Again, it's a liner lock type situation. This one was modified. It originally had 3 notches on here. I modified this with my Dremel, although not pretty. I was able to make the relief to get it to operate off my pants jeans pocket to automatically open when I pull it from the pants. Pretty much like all the other ones that have the wave on it. We're just going to say wave. The Smith comes with the wave built in. They call it something else, but it's the same idea. So both of these, when you retract them from your pocket, if you do it properly, this will just pop open for you and you're good to go, as far as, you know, whatever you need it for. It's great when you're opening packages and such, as well as self-defense, obviously. So far, I've had experience and carried both of these in my pocket. Again, they work great for opening packages and just have the D2 blade is not as sharp out of the box as the Smith. While twirling this around the other day, I literally was just sitting on the bed twirling it, and I literally caught just the edge of the blade on the comforter and shredded it. So it's really sharp out the box. Be really careful. This is not as sharp. It will need sharpening. This blade is definitely a little thicker and beefier. You can see where I modified it. I did not recoat it yet, but you see it's definitely a thicker blade than it comes on the Smith. See, it's more narrow. I would have no problem carrying either of these for self-defense or otherwise. They both do the job. I will say that the Malasong spring-loaded pocket clip on this is super terribly tight. Like, so tight to put it on your jeans pocket will require you to pull up to get it on. The Smith & Wesson is pretty much a standard pocket clip. It will basically slide on but not come off your pants pocket as easily. So there's that. Again, I rate these pretty decent. The nice part about having the bigger 3 3/4 inch or 3 7/8 opening size is you can literally grip this just fine with a normal hand either way. And like, I have normal size hands, nothing special, but I noticed a lot of reviews on other Karambits on different sites. A lot of people are complaining they can't get their grip in. They can only get like 2 1/2 fingers, and their other finger ends up here and this finger ends up dangling because the length of this grip area is too small for their hands. Both of these at a 5-inch overall length have a perfect, to me, grip area for, you know, utilization any which way you want to do it. whether you just want to do it one way or the other, it's going to work for you. So when you're searching for different Karambits, try to get the 5-inch closed overall length one, because that way you have the ability to do that. I do actually like the enclosed ring here a little better than the Smith, only because, you know, when you go to twirl this around and spin it for, you know, whatever you're doing with it, it's going to ride a little better on your hand, because it's more of a, you know, it's actually curved off really nice and beveled, whereas the Smith is not curved off or beveled inside. It's just a rough 90-degree turn. Of course, I could probably modify this to take a Dremel with a diamond stone and run around in circles to, like, you know, it's not a sharp edge, but it's just not conducive for long-term practice. You know, you'd want to use a practice Karambit for that. So there are your comparisons. I try to keep this video short, but I had a lot of questions on this, which referred me back to the original one I had bought. And like I said, this one's been modified to have the wave on it, so I can use it that way. The wife, who has not as strong hands, even though she was able to flip both of these with relative ease, she still preferred the SmithandWesson knife like this. So even though I may give her this initially to carry on her, I'm going to have to probably order one of these and break down. This is a more heavy duty feeling unit. So like if I'm using this per se to do like yard work or something crazy, or if I'm going out in the sticks, I'd probably bring both. But this would be my one that I'd use for cutting mini tree branches or you know, shucking off the edges of a stick to make a fire, whereas this one here would be just straight self-defense type purposes. I do like the spring assist, you know, but again, it's up to you on what you want to do. The downside to spring assist, as you know, on this model, this SmithandWesson model, there is no lock feature to keep it locked while in your pants, which could be a good or a bad thing, but there's no lock on this particular model. The other models that Smith came out with have a little slide lock to keep this unit closed. This does not have it. It does, however, when you close it, does tend to stay pretty well shut, so I don't see it really opening in your pants unless you, I don't know what you could possibly be doing with it in your pants that you'd want to roll around on the ground or sleep with it, which I wouldn't recommend. But again, it seems to be pretty well spring-loaded into that position. I'm assuming there's a lock bevel on here somewhere, like a lock pivot. I do see some points on here, so I'm assuming there's a lock pivot point both ways. That's it. So you got the Malasong, $27. Again, 2.5-inch blade. They're quoting this as having a 3-inch blade, but it's really 2 5/8, because when I measure it, I go from the edge of the blade to the end. They measured it from all the way back here, which is not even a blade part. There's nothing here. So this 1/2 inch here or whatever does not count. This is a true 2.5. I started on this one at the notch, because technically there's a blade right there, and I measured up 2.5. And again, you can see they're literally very identical. If you lay them on top, there's literally that little tiny bit of difference. Like, it's so tiny, it's crazy. That little 5/8 or 1/4 inch is not gonna matter at the end of the day. So there you go. MayhemBike, the Smith&Wesson Spring Assist ExtremeOps Karambit versus the Malasong, aka cheapy model. Again, this does feel very heavy duty. Both of these do have reversible belt clips for either pocket. Some sites said the Smith didn't have it, but obviously there's screw holes here, and obviously I moved it from one side to the other because I'm a right-handed person. So there you go. MayhemBike. Any other questions or comments? Feel free to chime in. I'll get more details for you. Links below for both. Have a good night.